presentation for the Mainstream Basics Styling Committee. To sort of bring you up to date, if we could, just for a few minutes, the purpose of this committee is to define all of the mainstream basics insofar as styling is concerned. One of our charges from the board was to not be in conflict with the Basics Definitions Committee. And last year there was some confusion regarding that point. So I would like to make that very clear from the outset, is that the purpose of this committee is to define any and all aspects of styling as it relates to mainstream basics, and not to attempt to define the basic itself. And sometimes that gets a little sticky, and it sort of makes you wonder sometime where one committee's responsibilities start and overlaps the starting of the other committee. I'd like to take a minute at this time, since I believe they're all here now, to quickly introduce the ones that we have on the panel today. And I think on my right I have Gloria Rios Roth from Nova Scotia, correctly said, and Ruth Moody from Indianapolis. And I think we have, had to think real quick there, you don't mind if I peek real quick there, do you? It's Alan and Irene Roth. And I believe the Roths are all from North Dakota. Okay. And our demonstration dancers today, and we'll be doing no dancing particularly, just demonstrations, are Dick and Carol Manning from Oklahoma. And we have Claudia and Bertie Mesick from Mesick, right? Closer that time? From Lansing, Michigan. And we have, I was trying to think of that fellow's name that didn't come dressed appropriately. Marshall Flippo from Abilene, Texas, is it? Dancing with lovely Miss Shirley Jones from Arlington, Texas. And then we have the Crosses, Norman and Clarice, also from North Dakota. And I would like to extend my personal thanks to each of these dancers and demonstration people for taking the time for the girls to dress up and the boys to get all prettied up and everything. And truly, Flippo would have if he could have found Nisa. But Nisa has the only key, and Nisa's out where we all ought to be, out on the beach.
Restoration. I tried to get up to the desk. I couldn't get up there.
I realize that.
Your room, and was in there with some man. She said, no, you can't.
Well, I understand all that, Flip. You and I get along beautifully. There's no problem there at all. Last year, I'd like to read this for you, if I may. This committee report has been prepared to be presented to the 1980 convention as a continuation of last year's report. The purpose of this report is to update the styling notes for basics not approved at the 1979 convention. We have taken care to work in conjunction with the approved basics definition list. Now, the definitions and styling terms for the basic programs 1 through 20, 31 through 34, 40, and 41 were approved for a one-year trial basis at the 1979 convention in Los Angeles. That means out of the basic 69, we had approximately half of those that we did not get to cover last year, mostly because of just lack of time. I think we had enough time allocated to cover all the basics, and we went in with firm intentions of doing so. But our response from the audience, which was needed, and we appreciated it, just was greater than we anticipated it to be. And it seems like when you talk about styling, it's real easy to rub up a hornet's nest in a hurry. And one nice thing about those of you that are here today that I particularly like is we are heavily populated with ladies today. And I guess that shows more than anything else who really is interested in styling. And it basically always works down that the ladies are more interested in the men because they're the ones that take the abuse. And styling tends to eliminate physical abuse in dancing. And therefore, the ladies seem to be much more interested in the men because they are the recipients of that abuse. If it pleases you at this point in time, we're going to take a quick review for you of what we call the meat of the basic styling as was approved at last year's convention. We are not going to make an attempt to cover all of the basics in these 3 sessions that were voted on and approved last year, unless there are great numbers of you who insist that we go back and try to review and update something that we agreed on previously. So at this point in time, I'd like to review with you, and if you have your handouts with you, we'd like to start at the very first. The committee felt that it was important that we get into some definition of styling terms so that we could use similar terms throughout the basic styling definitions as we went along. So we agreed on some of the following terms. We often use the term arms in natural dance position. And that reads that arms should be slightly bent for a comfortable position in anticipation of the next movement. Now then, if I may, I'll elaborate a little bit as I go along before we really get into discussion. The purpose of styling, as we previously stated, is to make the dancing comfortable and uniform. Therefore, we are not considered to be, or did we take into consideration as a committee, what we might term exhibition dancing. So some of the things that some people formerly held an opinion as being good styling or proper styling, such as hands held behind the back for the men, as in some people do in do-si-do, and things of that nature were eliminated or not spoken to because we felt it did not fit into our scheme of styling for mainstream basics, rather more into an exhibition type definition. So we maintain throughout our thoughts, we wanted to be natural with our dancing. We wanted to be comfortable and above all smooth, rather than particularly be pretty. Therefore, arms should be held slightly bent in a comfortable position in anticipation of the next movement. And we use this particular position for our arms frequently in our dance styling. The dance step itself, we decided, should be smooth, effortlessly gliding steps in which the ball of the foot touches and slides across the surface of the floor before the heel is gently dropped to the floor. The length of the stride should be fairly short, with the movement coming mostly from the knees down. And the dance step, by all means, must be coordinated with the beat of the music. And in general terms, it takes short gliding steps which utilize both the ball and the heel of the foot that make up a comfortable dance step. The dancing hands positions are the things that we begin to get into. And at this point in time, I'd like to bring my demonstration dancers up. And if you dancers, well, I think what it might be wise if you'd get maybe just right in the very center of the hall. I bet you could see as well as any. If we could just merely shove the chairs just a bit, if need be, to the right or left there to make a place right in front where most of you could see. Might have to adjust just a little bit there. Now bear in mind, I'd like to repeat that what we're going to do for the next few minutes is demonstrate what has already been previously agreed on, so that you can be familiar with what we're going to get into in the rest of the session. Got the cord across. Well, would it be better if you moved a little to the left of it, or can you all cross it? Well, we're not actually dancing anyway. We're mostly just standing taking handholds. I also wonder, would it be better if they canted the square a bit? Would that be better for you? Is that better? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. We'll make flip number 1, make him feel comfortable. That means you're the heads. Okay. First of all, we'd like to start out by demonstrating to you what we call couple handhold. And I think you can read along with me if you like, or you can watch. And I'll try to not read exactly from the script, but to more or less describe as I go along. It means that the inside hands are joined, and that the boy's hand is turned palm up, the girl's hand palm down, And one thing that we feel is important, at the hands should be held at a height that is equal to or above the height of the elbow at all times. In other words, it eliminates, drop your hands down, it eliminates that, which not only doesn't look well, it's just really not very nice for dancing. Keep your hands up above the height of your elbow. It doesn't mean extremely high, it means equal to or higher. And it's important that the boy always remembers to hold the hand palm up so the lady can put her hand in his hand, and then the thumbs are closed gently on the back of the partner's hand. Makes a nice grip. Then, with this movement, it's very nice to blend into what we call working couple turns by merely pulling the arms a little bit closer together and tightening your arm. Then you become locked in, so to speak, as a couple. And if you're ready, couples, if the boy will wheel the girl to face the wall, wheel to the left, and you are truly locked in as a couple. And I think they demonstrated. You can see the hand hold very well. Wheel back to the center, please. And if they were to circle, of course, they could merely loosen the arms away from each other and take the same hand hold with the adjacent dancer. All right. Back to the couple position. Face your corner, please. The next grip that came under quite a bit of discussion last year throughout the country, seems a lot of fellows had different ideas on how to teach it, myself included. And I might add, as a personal note, that I've changed a lot of my notions since I became a member of this committee. And some I still resist in my mind, but I don't let the dancers know too much about it. I think the main thing is important that once we come away from convention, we have to agree that the majority surely must have the better idea than the single few. So we teach things, and we would ask that you would accept and teach the findings of this committee. We're about to do an Alaman left, so if you'll take the left in a forearm position. The thing that was described about a forearm position is that the elbow is bent and that the contact forearm to forearm is made on the forearm rather than on the wrist or above the elbow. Now, if you'll take just a minute and demonstrate some of the differences. Supposing you slide on up past the elbow, fellas, and grab her by the back of the elbow. Now, if you'll just do about a half of an Alaman left, please, where they can all see what you're doing. We consider this not to be good, and yet that's in some areas is taught. Slide back to the forearm to where we feel it should be. Turn about a half of an Alaman left and stop again and let them look. And we felt it should not be this. Slide down to the wrist, please. It should not be in this area either. Finish an Alaman left a little more there. There we go. Roll to face your partner and square your set or whatever. All right. Now then, in describing it once again, face your corner. Take a left forearm together. The other thing we felt to be important is that it be stressed as a styling note that the fingers and the thumb be held close together. Now, we eliminated using the word close because they do not actually have to be exactly closed, but we did not want to see the thumb coming up over the lady's arm in a gripping motion, which some ladies bruise easily, and they didn't like the bruise marks. So with the purpose of defining the basic as is stated was to eliminate the fact that we were going to grip the opposing dancer's arm. Rather, we were going to use opposite resistance to turn with a little pressure, in other words. So finish your Alaman left. Come back and face your partner, please. And this time, let's move on to what we call a handshake hold. Now then, to do a handshake hold for any pull-by movements in which you are passing directly ahead, we said that you should use a comfortable handshake with hands reached and touched at about an average waist height. Now, we felt it important that you should overlap the thumb to the back of the hand as you do in a normal handshake grip. And the reason that was stressed to was eliminate, and if you will, demonstrate the fact, boys or girls, put your thumb inside the boy's hand, just close your hand, to eliminate some sort of grip in which the girl's hand is enclosed and put inside the boy's. So we felt it important that as you teach and go forward, you teach the students, extend your hands together at about an average waist high with your thumb up, your fingers together, slide together, and then grip down firmly, but not rough, of course. And this makes up a handshake grip. All right, if you'll just turn around. Keep where you are for a minute, because we're going to go ahead and put one other note in there. We also felt it important that you stress that in pull-by movements, that the hand contact be released as a common plane is crossed. Meaning, you do not linger with the hand grip as you go past. So pull her by in a right and left grand, and the hand contact drops as the dancers cross the common plane. All right? If you will, for a minute this time while we're in that position, let's go ahead and turn into a promenade position. And I'm going to skip over just for a minute because it's handy for the dancers to number 5. And we'd like to stress that in promenade, this also seemed to be an area of disagreement around the country because tiling is taught so differently in different parts. We conformed, if you will, to a manner of styling which is more traditional, in which both hands, ladies and gents, are held in front, palms turned up for the boys, down for the ladies. And again, we use the same basic hand grip as if we were in a couple, meaning that the thumb is dropped down gently on the back of the opposite dancer's hand, or the adjacent dancer's hand. Now then, the thing that came up in discussion last year that we felt noteworthy was that the positioning of the hands itself be located equally between the man and the lady. As you notice, the dancers now promenade about 2 steps so they can watch all of you, how you're holding your hands. Now stop for a minute and let's exaggerate a little bit. We tried to eliminate by wording this, as Claudie's doing, where the girl is pulled way over in front of the boy, or reverse it, where Flip would want to do that. Turn around, Flip, you can demonstrate the other. Where the boy's hand is completely over in front of the girl, laying in the protection area. So the hands should be placed equally in between. If you'll promenade home, please, or any places near home, and square your sit. Very good. Now, head couples, please, to the center and turn and pair off. The most controversy for the past 7 years has been over the hands up, hands down issue insofar as square dancing is concerned. It really stirred a row, I'm sure you've heard, in 1 or 2 previous conventions, but it has always been the contention of CALLERLAB, and particularly the board, that we made a resolution 7 years ago. We set a precedent as far as trying to determine what we thought was the ground we wanted to stand on, and we have not rescinded that in any manner. There have been inputs from other groups that have tried to influence us to change, but we feel now that once we've established a pattern, to go back and change and untrain people who have changed in their area would be unwise. So we have adopted that by resolution at a previous convention, that the so-called, quote, hands up positioning will be used for all ocean wave type movements. So if you'll demonstrate what we're talking about, we know it's going to be hands up. That's already decided by the previous convention. Now how do we join those hands up? And that's the point of the discussion at this point. So if you'll step to an ocean wave, please. This takes a little watching now, and it's very difficult to describe in words. The committee worked a lot of hours on this 8 or 10 little old lines here. Hands are joined in what we term a crossed palm position. For example, the opposing dancers place their palms together with fingers pointed up, then tilt hands out slightly, which will result in a crossed palm position. Thumbs are gently closed on the back of the opposing dancer's hand. As the turning action starts, the wrists are straightened a bit so that you can provide some equal resistance to each other. In other words, a slight pulling motion towards each other. Now, we hesitated to use the word pull because we got a lot of objections to using the word pull because so many people define pull with roughness. I've never been able to figure another word for it myself. You have to pull a wee bit. How much you pull depends on the body weight of the person you're pulling. but it does take some slight, gentle pull to assist you in turning movements. Do a swing through, please. The wrists are straightened, and the hand contact is maintained, and they are using slight pressure against each other to assist in turning. Do a swing through, please. It's a right and a left, and the hands are very flexible in that they can move quickly to other positions. If you will, this time, let's set up a little something. Do a double swing through, please. That's a right, and then a left, and a right, and a left. Finish with a do-si-do. And in the box formation that you're standing in now, get ready to adopt into a handshake agreement for a right and a left through. So it lends itself well to doing any number of movements. You can quickly convert, as we are about to do here, make a wave and balance. Now, as you come back, and if the call were to be right and left through, it's an easy grip in which you can just maintain contact, but quickly adjust, please adjust to a hand grip, and go right and left through. There's no problem at all. It can blend perfectly into the basic if the dancers are timing, and the dancers and caller are in coordinated timing. Do a do-si-do, put it all together one time. Make an ocean wave with a balance, and as you come back, get ready for a right and a left through, and the hands are dropped easily down into the handshake grip. All right, very good, thank you. Not knowing exactly where you are, I suppose you should dive through and square through three-quarters, gang. Una, dos, tres, and don't forget the nice forearm grip for an Alaman left, and back and square sets from there. Head couples, let's see, side couples this time, please. Go to the center. The other grip we'd like to talk about for a minute with those two couples is what we term loose handhold. Now, there has already been some discussion on the committee that we might come up with a better term for this, and we are open to suggestions later on if we need to do that. The most difficult, or one of the most difficult things we have faced yet in this particular definition of stylings is how to accurately describe the hand action required to do box the nats, curlicues, and star-throughs. It's very difficult to put in exact words what is the correct thing the committee feels to do. Even if we agree as a group what we think is the way to do it, it's very difficult to describe it where everyone reads it the same manner. We have come up with the term previously called loose handhold, which reads thusly, that the hands are going to revolve around each other, maintaining contact and a certain degree of security or stabilization, and only slight palm pressure is all that is required. Now then, I'd like for those couples, if they will, to join hands in a hand grip very loosely, please, in a normal handshake grip. And as they box the nat, I want you to watch how the hands rotate, maintaining what we call the degree of stabilization that is necessary. Do a box the nat, and notice that the girl's hand begins to revolve across the top of the boy's hand. Just boys are going to let their hands maintain contact. Your arm does not tie up in a bent situation. You hold your arms straight, both lady and gent, as far as twist or rotation of the elbow is concerned. It's just that they are raised and that the hands simply revolve. Try it again. Box the nat. Notice the hands just roll across, maintaining the touch, which is important. Now then, opposing that viewpoint and things that have come to our attention are the following things. Cup your hands, please, in which many dancers are taught to cup their hands. And let's see, yes. Boys turn his hand up and then cup it. All right. And this time, hold on to that grip as you would, please. In other words, let your elbow tie up. Box the nat. And notice this could result in a tied up situation, probably more easier than just the hand contact. Can you just drop the hands and redo that again? Ready? Box the nat. That is being taught in some places. We felt it was not good. Would you same dancers, please? This time there is a great deal of emphasis being put in some areas on what I term a back of the hand type turn, in which the lady presents the back of her hand to the gent. He puts the palm of his hand to the back of her hand to prevent, if you would speak, the twisting of the arm. So do a box the nat in this manner, And it also seems to blend itself very well into the handshake position, which usually follows. Try that again, girls. Turn the back of the hand and box the net. Same couples, do a right and a left through. I'm not for sure that's where you belong, but that'll do. Same couples, do a right and a left through. I'm not for sure that's where you belong, but that'll do. Okay, suppose the other couples step in. Now then, head couples go to the center. If you would please, let's go back to what we would like to define that we are beginning to feel is what we meant by this loosely worded description of loose handhold. Join hands in a normal handshake grip, very slightly, let the hands revolve and box the net. Notice that the girl's hand rolls over the boy's hand as they turn. Box the net again slowly. Watch the hands roll over. Box the net very slowly and the hand rolls over. Last time, box the net and re-square your set. Thank you. Okay, good enough for that. The last little thing that come up in the definitions work was called, or as far as the grip is concerned, was what we term the box star or pack saddle grip. Now then, if you would, gang, please go to the center, all four boys, and make a pack saddle grip, or sometimes called a box star, as is used in star patterns, particularly star patterns that take weight. By taking weight, we mean with dancers on the outside. So if you girls will take the boy beside you with a forearm grip, please, as in Alamandar. And the girls walk forward, the boys back up. We felt this to be, in last year's convention, the most accepted manner for a star pattern that takes weight. Stop for a minute. Called either pack saddle or box star. Two names seem to be popular. All right, supposing you just sort of take whatever it takes to square your set there. This time I'd like for all the men go to the all the ladies to go to the center. And girls, we're going to put in what we call a palm star that we discussed last year at the very end of the convention. We felt it not appropriate for girls to make a box or pack saddle star, that was inappropriate for ladies. Therefore, it seemed to be logical to come up with something that still maintained contact but was easier for the ladies to do. So we simply called it palm star, in which all the hands are placed together with the fingers pointing up and the thumbs closed gently over the back of the adjacent dancer's hand to provide some degree of stabilization. The arm should be bent slightly so that the height of the hand grip will be at an average eye level. So this determines the height of the hand positioning.
That'd be above eye level for Dave Taylor.
Be above eye level for Dave Taylor. Might be above eye level for Flippo. Very good. And if you'll re-square your sets. Thank you. The other things we talked about in general terms were posture, which is all important and too often neglected. That dancers should stand straight and tall and suck in your stomach. Shoulders back. And one thing that we've noticed in working with styling over the last few years that is a no-no, often tall people have the tendency to stoop. They feel like they're tall and they need to get down and lower themselves to the height of the others. If you're tall, be proud of it. If you're short, be proud of it. Stand tall, no matter how tall you are. All right. The other thing that will be used frequently during the course of the discussion is the word skirt work. I think it should be understood that all basic styling involves some skirt work in an appropriate place for the ladies. It's sometimes hard to describe exactly where the ladies should put it in. I think the general rule stands is when you have a free hand, girls, make use of it with your skirt. And that was described by saying that the ladies hold the skirt in the free hand, using a very slight rhythmical flourish to move the skirt in front and back, right hand moving with the left foot, left hand moving as you coordinate with the right foot. I missed one thing. I said there's one other. The promenade ending twirl was a thing that had come in for discussion before, and it's some places is not even used. But it's nice if you use it. We would like that it be all used throughout the country the same way, which would be a nice thing to run into. Supposing we take the lady you have in a promenade position, and we're going to promenade just half of the square to the opposite side, and when I give the word, we'll twirl the girl. Before you do, I'm going to read it, and they can watch. That the gent will raise his right hand, holding the lady's right hand loosely as she twirls clockwise underneath, ending in a squared-up couple's position. The emphasis being is that the boy's right hand, girl's right hand are the hands that are used. Is that a way to go? Bless you, Gloria. So you promenade a half of the square, please. And before you get there, start your twirl. Boy's right, lady's right. And the gents merely step back into the squared-up position. Once again, take the same lady in promenade position. As you promenade, before you get, raise the right slightly, out to the right, and into a nice squared-up position. Very good. Now then, at this point in time, I think what we'll do is we'll take just a couple of comments from anyone that would like to make a comment at this point. But I want to limit those comments. You want to sit for a minute, Dancer, give you a chance to rest, and I'll let you sit before we actually start in describing some of the basics. Thank you. I would like to limit this now. Wait, excuse me just a minute. It's our entire time for this session. I thought we changed to a different session.
We just continue on after that.
Okay. At this point in time, now I would like to keep this comments to, we'll say, no more than the 10-minute range, so that we can move along on some sort of schedule. But we will take or solicit your comments about the things that have been approved by a previous convention and what this committee will attempt to present to the convention on Wednesday morning for a final adoption. I'd like to say it again to make sure you understand what I'm trying to say, because sometimes my use of the language is not as it should be. We are presenting to you things that have been previously approved at convention and placed on a one-year trial basis. At the closing session of this convention, we are going to present for convention approval on a permanent basis all of the styling recommendations for the mainstream basic list. So far, you have seen only a description of the terms themselves that are used in defining the basics. Now then, I'd welcome any comments you have up to this point. Please address the microphone and your name.
Yeah, Tom Burns from Delaware. First of all, I'd like to compliment the styling committee on a good job. And also, I've encountered a lot people on ocean waves using still a forearm grip. I would like to suggest that we send out a special notice or something to say that the hand up grip is the correct way to do it. Okay. Also, I would like to make a suggestion on the promenade, making the option, since it's already done in many parts of the country, the skirt skater's position. Okay, so I'd like to make those two suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't really know how to respond to either one of those. I mean, of course, the hands-up position is a thing that has brought controversy and will continue to do so until all of the callers agree that it has to start in class and that they teach it in class. You're never going to convert 10-year dancers very quickly. So it has to be something that's brought up through an educational process starting at beginner's class. And when that is done, it will be a very short time then that remains for the whole country to be dancing that way. But until the callers themselves are convinced that we are going to do it, then we will continue to have that problem. I understand that in one of the board meetings we discussed the fact that there might be a re-emphasis on the resolutions that have been previously passed, and that one in particular, to try to see if we couldn't encourage some of the guys to really get into it. There also has been some talk that it might be referred to some sort of an ethics committee for at least a notification that someone who belongs to CALLERLAB and teaches otherwise is in violation of their pledge. As far as skirt skaters waltz, I can only tell you that you've mentioned it, and we'll take note of it here on the committee. I suppose Ruth's got that down already, and we'll discuss it again. We discussed it last year at convention. It was voted out in favor of the one that we went to. Yes, sir?
Buzz Lewis from Savannah, Georgia. I don't have a comment to make really on what the committee has already done. I would like to ask the committee to answer a question for me on the twirl at the end of a promenade. I'm from South Georgia. We got some farmers in the clubs, and when they twirl, I teach like you were demonstrating, but they don't twirl, they crank. Man, I tell you, the poor girl catch the devil. And what I would like is if somebody can suggest to me how I can teach them to not crank the girl around. Now, I even went so far, and the wife and I do it. I have a little problem with my right shoulder, so I can't use my right arm that much. But I use my left hand. And this way, the dancers saw me doing it. Well, I explained to them why. But they say, you know, if I use my left hand, or the ladies will say, if that man uses his left hand, he can't crank me. Because if he starts to cranking me, I can reach over and clobber him with my right hand, you know. But I would, seriously, folks, I would like a suggestion on how I can eliminate this problem. Because there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than taking this girl and just, let's face it, just almost putting her on the floor.
Thank you. Why don't you each take notes as to these things, and let's respond at the end, have a little period of time in which each panel member makes a response. Would that be better, or do you think we ought to respond on time? Well, as long as we don't get into a long, big discussion. Okay, we can respond to that. I'm in full agreement with you. As far as my own self is concerned, you know, I must say those words, don't crank, 100 times. Oh gosh, I say them often, I'll put it that way. You know, it's a thing you have to say over and over and over and over. I think Gloria wants to respond to that. Gloria?
Because, my Lord, you're a tall man. Because I feel the same as the gentleman from Savannah, and that's the way I teach it, and being on the styling committee, it's a little in conflict. Perhaps it is time, and I'm glad it came from out on the floor, to include an optional way how many of the people on the floor do twirl with the left hand at the end of a promenade. And this is what you teach your dancers. There's a few that do.
Thank you, Gloria. We will we'll make a note of that, and we'll discuss it. I had this gentleman, then you, sir. You were first. At least I saw you first. I wouldn't swear you were first, but in the order in which I saw you.
Can I make a suggestion?
I wish you to state your name, please, sir.
I'm Wayne McDonald, Tennessee.
Thank you.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Being also in round dancing and square. In round dancing, they teach that anytime the girl twirls, the gents take his hand, put it over the lady's head, and just hold it there. Let her do the gripping, let her do the turning. Because she's the one that's doing the balancing, not him. And I teach this in my classes the same way. So when a guy's twirling a girl, put your hand up over her head, and just hold your hand up for her to go with.
Thank you. I appreciate that. In fact, not to steal any of your thunder, because I think all people who have been involved in round dancing realize that, and that's exactly what I do. I teach them that it's merely a platform and not a crank, and that they have to hold the hand as a platform to walk along beside the lady as she twirls. But thank you for suggesting. Yes, sir?
Hal Trey from Baltimore. I think that pretty well covers what I was going to say. The girl that does the twirling, not the man. And the man only serves as a little support there while the girl is doing the twirling.
That's correct.
And I think that would cover that.
Sir, thank you.
Who was the caller that used to tell them to defend themselves, the girls? And one of his systems was, of course, in the rough swinger, while she let herself go limp. And the same thing can be applied to your spin. If this guy's giving her a big crank, just let her throw her arm loose. get it out of gear.
I have a lot of dancers like that. They don't even tend to be. A lot of loose. I saw this lady here first, then I saw you, sir. Yes, Phyllis is a committee member, but she works all the time.
Not all the time, almost. In answer to the left-hand...
It's Phyllis Plimpton.
Phyllis Plimpton from Sarasota, Florida, and it's lovely over there. It's really not as hot as it is here. One of the reasons we did not use the left hand to twirl the lady on the promenade ending twirl was because if he uses that on the promenade pickup twirl, the lady sometimes is apt to be in a backing up motion as she comes into the promenade rather than a forward motion, and it makes it a little bit more jerky for her. And if we suggest the left hand on the ending twirl, they're asked to use the same thing on the pickup twirl simply because at first glance it's much easier. And for many reasons it is easier. But that was the reason we did not use the left hand.
Thank you, Phyllis. I saw someone over here. Yes, sir. I'll take one more after this.
Len Jarway, England. When we were talking of stars earlier, I do have trouble with the language. You know, I may have missed.
You speak beautifully. Go ahead.
We were speaking of the men using the box star, and we said to use this star when we were talking about weight. I don't know whether we meant the men to star this way when they were on their own because there was weight involved, or whether we meant the men to use the palm star when they were on their own, not in the arm and bar position.
I can only speak for myself. Go ahead.
Because mainly in England we teach it that the ladies use a palm star and the men use the box star whenever. But I had the impression there that possibly we were saying the men use the palm star as well when they were on their own.
I can't speak for the committee because I don't think we've actually addressed that by. Well, let me finish this a minute. I don't think we've addressed it by definition anywhere in here. I can't find the words to say that. Right. I'm in complete agreement with you as what it is, but do we have that in here? That's my message.
I don't believe we have the word now.
See, I don't. I know what they're saying because I know the way I think. We think that anything that takes weight would normally imply if you're in a backing up position in which the girls are on the outside providing what we would call weight to the star. Then that would, but if it was just 4 men working in the center, like 4 men star right, it would be a palm star position, meaning they just simply go in and touch the hands together and turn. Now that was, pardon me?
Our male dancers would never star that way.
Yes, sir, I realize, and it not only with your dancer, but some of the other dancers teach differently. But that was the findings of this committee. I'm just not sure we got that in print.
Right here, look under your box star. It is implying to just a star. It doesn't even mention the element in bar.
By golly, you're right. It did say it. Look here on number 16, and I had forgotten this, and I'll apologize. In a forward-moving star, inside hands should be joined in a palm star position, average eye level, arms bent at elbow, outside arm in natural dance position. So I knew we addressed it. I didn't really think we put it in there, but sure enough, it's there. Thank you for the correction. That was our recommendation last year and as approved by a one-year trial basis. Yes, sir? Last call now before we move along.
Norm Wilcox, Toronto, Canada. On the optional promenade, I suggest that we do not put too many options out because where in one area or one club everyone does it the same way, if they ever dance somewhere else but they don't do it the same way, then you're constantly fighting hands as to whether you should put on your skirt over the arm. I mean, in some places they still do a Varsouvian promenade, and just which one do you use when you dance together and you spend the whole promenade fighting each other. I think we should recommend one and leave it at that.
I appreciate your comments. I agree with you myself, but sort of in a strange position here. I'm trying to be neutral. Okay. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is Ron Nelson from Virginia. When I used my dancers to do the twirl at the end of the promenade, I had them twirl with both hands and change the lady's hand from the bent left to his right hand at the top of the twirl and then come down and side. It seems to eliminate this cranking motion or anything like that.
Thank you, sir. That's a comment that's appreciated. I hope you realize that I'll try to clarify this one thing, that we as a committee are trying to take the stand that we are not trying to force anything on you dancers. We have merely at this point just been presenting our findings, and that any comments you make, we have a lovely lady that's taking notes, and we will certainly consider those and try to get back to you. If we feel that there is enough comments merited in that degree, we'll certainly try to look into it. But like in everything, we try to go with the majority. And last year, as I so stated, the majority went with the things that we have written. In a great majority, I might add, after it was all, the dust was settled, it passed by a huge majority. So we were in pretty well agreement on the things we define now. Okay, I'd like to close the comment session for a few minutes and move back to demonstrations, then we'll come back to comments. I'd like to get my dancers back again. They've rested a while now. No, I'm fine, thank you. Now then, at this point in time, I'm going to sort of skip across the basics and only touch the ones that I feel that we have felt as a committee that you might be interested in reviewing, so to speak. So we'll not go straight down the list, as might be the case. We would like to give you the defined definition of bow or honor your partner. I sometimes think the word bow might be a little out of place, but anyway, honor your partner is being described thusly, that the gent and lady that are honoring each other will basically use what we call a round dance type acknowledgement, eliminating more or less the bow and the curtsy, in which they simply balance back from each other and by eye contact acknowledge the beginning of the dance. It reads as follows. Gents, turn slightly to face your partner, making eye contact. Place left hand behind back or at left hip, palm out. Place right foot in front of left foot. Right foot should be pointed toward the lady with toe touching the floor. Gent's right hand holds lady's left hand. Both legs are straight with the weight on the back foot. And for the lady, she will turn slightly to face the partner and again making eye contact. Left foot should be pointed forward with the toe touching the floor. Right foot in back. Right hand holds skirt towards center of a square. Right arm is bent at the elbow. Place the left hand in the partner's right hand. Both legs are straight with the weight on the back foot. Are you ready? Honor your partner. Excuse me. Very beautifully done. Re-square your sets. We're going to show it again. Honor your partner. Re-square your sets. Very good. An acceptable traditional variation of styling, and this was put in on a last-minute basis last year because we had quite a bit of input to our committee after we had presented our styling sessions, is they just felt badly about eliminating a curtsy. A bow and a curtsy is still considered proper in almost any activity, including square dancing. And it was traditional, so as an acceptable traditional variation of styling is that the gents can bow slightly from the waist as the ladies acknowledge with a curtsy. So, ready, gang? Honor your partner. And it's important to remember the ladies do not bend the waist when they curtsy, that they bend the knees so slightly and dip so slightly down, and that the gent holds his legs straight as he bows gently from the waist. And again, it's important, we felt, to make the eye contact. All right? And when you honor your corner, it is the same, only reversed. You merely are facing a different direction, and the one exception to the description is that you continue to hold hands with your partner rather than release that hand. So, and now honor your corner. Some of you bowed. Let's go back to the way we did the other. Sort of a little step back motion. And honor your corner. That's very good. And that does that. Okay. Very quickly, we'll join hands and circle to the left. All the dancers are walking forward with joined hands with the man's palms up and the lady's palm down, elbows bent comfortably so that the hands are above the elbows. All the way home, please. And then those head couples from a squared set go forward and back. Now, the timing and the basics definition committee have already established how to do it, what it is, and the time involved. We are only adding the emphasis in our description is that the couples must have the inside hands joined. And as the couples meet in the center, outside hands may be touched palm to palm. As the foot is brought to the floor on the 4th and 8th counts, it should remain on the floor. And the emphasis for those words is that it means you step and touch rather than step and kick. Excuse me, or step and swing. So heads go forward and back. Sides go forward. Had you out of position. And back. Sorry about that. Now then, if you will, head couples to the center again and do a do-side-do. And the arms for the gent are in a natural dance position, and the right shoulder forward as the right shoulders pass. He leans slightly in with the right. As the left shoulders pass, he leans the left shoulder slightly forward. For the lady, both hands are going to be on her skirt, moving the skirt forward and back to avoid the opposite dancer. The right hand forward as the right shoulders pass, and the left hand forward as the left shoulders pass. See if it works. Head couples, do-side-do. Very beautifully done. If you have a comment, as some of you are bound to be thinking about swinging for a do-side-do and trying to eliminate it, as most of our sessions have come up with, it's simply stated that's not do-side-do. And that's simply the way to handle that. All right? If you will, please, face your partner. And we are about to get into basic number 4, which is the swing. Now then, to do a proper swing, it is important that you teach your dancers from the onset the proper swinging position. And we would describe thusly that the gents will have the left arm bent at the elbow, palms slightly up, the right hand on the lady's back, slightly above the waist, and that your posture is erect. Now then, the things that came to mind last year that brought forth discussion and that we tried to measure words deliberately were that the right hand is on the lady's back slightly above the waist. In round dancing and in ballroom dancing, you are taught to put your fingers below the lady's shoulder blade, to some above and some below, as a point of maneuverability for in round dancing. In square dancing, since you have to adjust your position to what would be more or less considered banjo in round dancing, it means that the man's arm is liable to get right up there in the wrong place. So we're making him drop it down just a little. Unless she's fully endowed, she ought to be safe. And if you get too low, as I tell my dancers, you got about a 6-inch space there that you're legal. You can go up till you feel the shoulder blade or down till you feel the waistband, and you can stop anywhere in there. Okay, now then, for the ladies, the right hand palm down on the gent's left hand. Left hand on gent's right shoulder, arm resting on gent's right arm, and again, man stands tall, meaning that the posture is erect. You should teach your dancers not to bend away from or bend towards the opposite dancer. You are dancing together and both standing straight and tall and handling your own body weight. The footwork is one in which you walk around using short shuffling or walking steps around the central pivot point. So if you'll do that, simply walk around each other in a swinging motion. Thank you. An acceptable variation in many parts of the country that is taught and used frequently is a buzz step, in which the right foot moves in small steps around the pivot point while the left foot pushes as in a scooter motion. So buzz step around once. Still is acceptable in our definitions of swing. The ending position, which we feel to be all important, is that the lady should roll off the man's right arm. Do this very slowly this time, gang. You're going to swing the girl one time around very easily and roll her off to a blending position that is situated to the next call. Once again, very slowly, swing the girl, and the lady rolls off the man's right arm, blending smoothly into the position for the next call. Now that it's important that we emphasize that because we felt it bad, as many dancers do, to twirl the girl and end up in a situation that creates a motion for the lady in one direction and then abruptly changing her body position to the other. As, for example, gang, do one wrong for me like this. Wait a minute, I'll tell you what I'm going to do ahead of time. I want you to swing the girl and then very abruptly start to circle left. So swing the girl, twirl her, and start to circle left. She did. This time, if you'll swing the lady and circle left with a rolling off motion. Swing the lady and circle left, and the girls blend very easily into the circle without any abrupt change of direction. Okay? This time, from a squared set, please. This time, we did describe a twirl, and there is a beautiful twirl to be used, as in round dancing, a twirl vine, which is used often and blends itself very well into our square dance picture, what we call our promenade ending, our swing, our twirl that ends the swing, blending into the promenade. So this is the ending position of a swing preceding a promenade. And at this point, wait just a minute, gang, at this time, I'm going to describe it first. The gent will raise his left hand over the lady's head, holding hands right hand loosely. Her hand revolves around his for stability as she turns clockwise, moving down line of dance 3 steps into a promenade position by joining inside hands on the 4th step. While the lady turns, the gent will move forward down line of dance to be in position for the promenade. Now, if you've round danced it all, this becomes easy. If you haven't, then it becomes a thing that I think it's important to me in my teaching experience that you teach how you swing and how you twirl into a promenade, because it works so smoothly and so nicely if they are taught correctly from the onset. Girls, remember that after the swing, if you have swung one revolution, you will come out in a position with your back to the promenade direction, in which your right foot is free and the gent's left foot will be free. And then you merely, fellas, as the gentleman over here suggested, raise the hand up to provide a stable platform for the lady to move and glide under, as she does essentially a pivot step down line of dance in 3 steps, always moving forward with the pivot, not in place. So let's swing once, blend her right into the twirl ending, and she just walks down the line of dance so beautifully. Not only beautifully, because we're not doing exhibition type dancing, and that's not what we're looking for in our square dance program. We're looking for something that is comfortable, that's easy for the ladies to do, and once they are taught properly, can adapt to very easily, and always feel safe that they're not going to be hurt, that they're not going to be twisted, that they're not going to be jerked, and that we do put a sense of style into our dance without being showy. Do an Alaman left. Come back and swing your partner and promenade that lady, please. That's very beautifully done, and I know it's comfortable for the dancers to do. All right. Number 5. I think we'll just skip that. That's couples promenade. We've already talked about it. 6, Alaman arm turns. We've already talked about those. Grand right and left and weave. We might discuss just for a minute number 7, weave, where the ladies are going to work the skirt with both hands as you move around the square. Not exaggerated, girls, but with the hands on the skirt. Men hold hands in natural dance position. The motion is one in which the circle is not too large, and with the dancers leading with their right shoulders as they pass with the dancer on their right, and the left shoulders as they pass with the shoulder on the dancer on the left. And brief eye contact should be made as you meet each dancer, and that was considered to be important in our activity. It's important that we make those people that we're dancing with feel like, hey, I recognize you as the girl I'm passing by in a weave the ring. Not looking across the square, the one that was trimmer and Alaman left. Weave the ring. Oh, yeah. Boy, Cliff making eye contact. Promenade. Yeah, sound effects and all, didn't we? Going to number 8, and we won't walk it, pass through, which is a similar type thing. You can see where we could end up with pass through. Shouldn't be any problem. The man is simply going to put man and lady will put their right shoulder forward as they pass right shoulders, and their arms in natural dance position rather than tucked up behind their back in a more formal manner. Very little to say on you turn back, number 9. Just keep your arms in a natural dance position. Number 10, split the couple in the ring. We really couldn't find, we said words about it, but we don't see anything that would warrant a lot of discussion. No one should object to the words we use, that the gents' arms are in natural dance position and the ladies are optional on the skirt work. That the couple that is separated by the active couple simply moves out of the way so that the active couple may move between them. Once the active couple is moved through and is out of the way, the couple who are separated or who have been separated will move together again. I guess we could walk that. Heads pass through, separate and walk around one, split those two, come in between them, pass through, split the other two and separate and walk around one, down the center with a right and a left through. I got that one. Thank you. Number 12. Well, a couple separate and divide was 11, same thing more or less as far as styling is concerned. Number 12, the courtesy turn. Supposing heads pass through. Stop for a minute. Now we're about to do a courtesy turn, and the gent should extend the left hand, and it's going to serve as a direction indicator. And the man uses his left hand to lead, not to pull with. It's important that the hand be placed out as an indicator and not to pull the girl across. Place the right hand in the small of the lady's back. For the lady, we're going to free the right hand to use the skirt with, rather than the previously mentioned right hand under the boy's right hand on her hip. Courtesy turn. Pass through. This time, do the wrong way. Take the girl and jerk her across there and show her what we're trying not to do. Very good. Thank you. Out of the chain family, it's important that the gents should remember to release the partner, then turn the right shoulder slightly toward the center of the square to begin the courtesy turn portion of the call, stepping backwards with the left foot. Now then, this is just a styling note that you might want to pick up on that makes the dance flow. When you do a lady's chain, if the gent will remember to anticipate the call a little bit, as the lady approaches, he can begin a slight turn to the left, extending his left hand, palm up, and the lady will move effortlessly, I hope, in beside the gent to become a couple to complete the courtesy turn. Let's see if that works that way. We haven't tried this as a demonstration. Head ladies, chain across, gents step backwards with your left, start a slight turn in anticipation of the lady's arrival so that you blend in together as a couple. Now, if we break that into slow motion, do as I direct, please. Ladies pull by with the right, head ladies, hold it. Now then, gents, before the lady gets there, put your left foot behind you. Turn your body slightly to the left, extending your left hand directly in front of you, not to the lady, please, directly in front of you, directly in front of you, as a directional indicator, palm up, so that the lady can advance straight ahead, girls, and lay your left hand across his, and then the boy begins to slowly blend in beside the lady to make a courtesy turn in which he had anticipated her arrival, rather than coming face to face and then him having to adjust his feet very quickly. Head ladies chain, fellows, and try doing it the other way. Just sit there and see the way that she gets there, and then... Right. Head ladies chain again. This time do it correctly. Start your turn in anticipation of the lady's arrival. In four ladies chain, of course, the ladies are free to use their right hand on the skirt as they chain on the courtesy turn portion. I think it'd be very difficult to put your We talked about this at length last year, and it has already come up in this convention as to the ladies' use of the skirt with the hand in the center. In other words, in conjunction with the hand. At that time, we found out that it is sort of difficult to do. That was the opinion we arrived at straw polls. It was difficult for the ladies to use their hands on the skirt and as a hand movement at the same time, and that we felt that the skirt work should be in conjunction with the free hand, rather than the hand making the star or the hand touch or the hand contact. Does anyone not understand what I'm trying to say? Good, thank you. Okay. Then in the four ladies chain, of course, same sort of thing. It's the same styling. Four ladies chain, using the palm star, if you will, girls to touch with. Boys turn, the girl can grab her skirt as she turns. Four ladies chain back across. They touch the hands in the center. They grab the skirt with the right as the boy courtesy turns the lady. That's beautifully done, and it's nice dancing. Number 14 was do paso. We didn't find anything about do paso that would really going to cause anybody great amount of conflict in their discussion. We did make the comment that when the courtesy turn portion of the do paso is replaced by a different logical basic, then the styling reverts to that basic. Now, if you're reading along with me, you don't understand those words, I might clarify them for you. I think there are probably lots of people who didn't realize that do paso ends traditionally in a courtesy turn. So if you'll do this, face your partner, and let's start it from there. Do paso, partner left, corner right, and it comes back with a courtesy turn at the end of that, which is a traditional and proper way to do do paso. But it is very seldom used, as you know. The most frequent use of do paso is as follows: circle left, and do a do paso, partner left, corner right, partner left to an alamandar, blending into a new basic in which the courtesy turn portion was released. And at that point, the girl blends into the hand positioning for the next basic, which in this case was a star and with the skirt on the outside. Slip the clutch, please. Alaman left. Come back and square your sets near home position. There you go. Basic number 15 was called right and left through. Right and left through is where each dancer takes a regular handshake hold with the right hand. As they move past each other, they release hands immediately as they pull by, and courtesy turning is the same as is previously described in the basic before. Heads right and left through. So very little to talk about on that one. To get you back in place, heads do that again, right and left through. Am I working the heads more than the sides? I'm not really keeping up. You sure I am? We learned to dance, didn't he? I'd like to step aside for a minute to tell just a brief story that I have told at least a time or two that involves Flippo. And I guess maybe I'm bragging a little bit about it, but I used to didn't brag about knowing Flippo, but since he became so famous now, I never hesitate to brag about it. Flippo and I go back very, very long in time-wise, and we were friends back when Flip first began to square dance. And I had been active as a caller probably for a couple of 3 years at that time. I'm not for sure how long. And Flip at least got some of his early influence from me. It didn't make him any better for it, but I knew, he got some of his early bad habits from me. And he used to come to our dances quite regularly, he and Nisa. And it just delights me to think how well he dances in calls now, as how I think back how he used to dance. And without exaggeration, he is the only person that I've ever seen that had a complete new something in square dance styling that I have never seen before or since. He jumped. He literally left the floor and jumped on the right and left gram to start it and come down and pop both feet on the floor very loudly. Used to get great delight to see how high you could jump and come down and bang the floor. I knew you wouldn't. But he reformed. Now he's very style conscious, and he doesn't even like twirl girls because he's hard on his arm to get it up and twirl. He's gone to an old style. Well, I appreciate your dancing, you and Shirley. Anyway, you're not the regular members of our committee. You're sort of our advisor members, and And Shirley, in particular, John and Shirley have been close friends for years, and John and I have spent more time on styling than any aspect, I guess, of square dancing in our own careers, and that's one reason we sort of work together on this thing. Okay, to continue. We're going to go through a few more, and then we'll take comments. Pardon me? 15 minutes before the break. Okay, I'll take about 5 of those, and then we'll save about 10 for comments. I'm going to move along. I'm going to forget right-hand star because we've already talked about that, and star promenade. Well, we need to talk about star promenade. That's important. Gents, go to the center and make a left-hand star, please, and turn that star all the way around to your partner and pick up your partner with a star promenade in which the inside arm is around the man's waist, ladies, under his arm. There we go. Outside hand works the skirt. Now, if you'll stop just where you are for a minute. You see the handhold they have? Now, this has always brought up a lot of discussion as what this should be. In many areas of the country, it's taught in the following manners. Girls, lift your hand up and put it on his shoulder inside, please. And your arm is over his arm with your hand on the inside shoulder. That is taught frequently. That's very good. This time, I think another method is taught in which you just simply, some of the places, grab elbows and pick up the girl and go along. I've seen that taught in some places. But the way we feel as a styling committee that it is best taught and should be most easily and gracefully danced is the girl's arm around the boy's waist by placing it first of all under his arm in the position that the dancers are now standing. And if you'll go ahead and star promenade to your home position. Very good. Square your set. Basic number 20 brought in some discussion as how we circle to a line. We have had many comments, or I've had a lot of comments this year from various dancers and groups where we were talking styling to add emphasis to their belief that we should eliminate the basic styling as we have it down by the lady ducking under the boy's arm at the end and go to what we term a slide to a line in which two couples slide to a line. Our answer to that has been a standard answer. That is not our chore. It is not even our responsibility in this committee to decide that. That is written in the Basics Definition Committee. It was written and approved by convention that when a couple leads to the right and ends in a line, that the lady will assume the end position by going under the gent's raised arm. So we do not have a choice. And I'm just throwing that out to see if you had thought about presenting that. It's something we cannot consider that would be a part of the Basics Definition Committee's function. So heads lead to the right and circle forward, and as the man breaks with his left, he should lead the line several steps before turning. After the end, lady has released right hands, and while retaining the right hand of the man beside her, she will raise her left arm and make an arch. Now, we have had an input that it would probably be better to say, instead of raise her left arm, that together they raise their hands, rather than the lady raising her arm or the man raising the lady's hand. Then as the line begins to straighten out, she will move forward under this arch, turning left face gradually under her own left arm so that instead of backing up, she is moving forward to the end of the line. Let's go back and try that one more time and see if all those words fit. And I hope they're not in conflict. I understand, by the way, I saw Ken back there, and I understand Sharon had told me that we do have some sort of conflict in our wording that we should probably attend a committee to see if we can straighten it out. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I think we're going to have a meeting about 5 o'clock or so, and anyone that's here that would like to attend that meeting at 5 is going to be in the Eastwood room for a very short session. So,
yeah. Well, of course, we purposely tried not to conflict with anything, but there has been some communication lack due to some work you have done that we haven't received and our work that you hadn't received. But insofar as when we left convention last year, I didn't know that we had conflicted in any manner.
It only came up in this morning's meeting. And I think we didn't have time to do any resolving of that then. We want to do that at 5 o'clock.
I got you. Okay. But as far as you can't be specific as to what we have then. You don't have anything specific. I was wondering if this was it.
It had to do with the definition of the arch. And our definition as it stands, just has an arch. The right end dancer of the line walks forward under a raised arm arch into place at the end of the line.
Well,
and has stood for 4 years.
are we in conflict with that you can see?
I don't think so. No.
Well, I didn't think we were, but I was just passing on what I was told, and that's the reason I thought I'd bring the comment up at this time. Excuse me just a minute. Everybody quiet just a minute.
In conflict with certain parts of the country where they're going under a center arch rather than not in New England, thank God, but they are doing it in some
Well, of course, that's not in the...
dancer can still go under a middle arch and pull the second dancer with them. They take it as that definition of using it.
Oh, well, then probably, if that is the context in which it happens, well, then that needs to be referred back to the Basics Committee rather than to ours. The only reason I brought it up is I didn't want a lot of people think that we were shunning something that they had an input that they felt we should address. But I want to make sure we don't address something that is not our responsibility. In other words, I'm not trying to step on the toes of the other committee. I'm trying to complement the work of the committee rather than be in opposition to it. Okay. Now then, this time, after I've read all that, I'd like to do it just one much time and see that they understand it. I think the points that we were trying to make that we felt important is that the gent that breaks the line, we'll let the sides lead out this time, the gent that breaks the line, is important that he releases in anticipation of making the line so that he can dance forward for a few steps rather than pulling out abruptly into a line and letting the rest of the dance just unravel like you were throwing out a yo-yo or something. And the fact that it cuts into itself and pulls out smoothly into a line, which permits the lady making the foot of the line to more or less make all of her steps forward. She should have very little backing to do. Sides. Lead to the right. Circle 4. That man's going to break early and lead out in a forward line. That last lady will have very little backing up steps to do. Walks almost completely forward as Bertie did and to pull out the line of 4. Okay, thank you, dancers. If you'll re-square your sets. I wish I'd have left you there. Continuing on to bend the line, as the ends move forward, the centers back up equally, using a normal couple handhold, and in the event a new line is formed, immediately join hands in the new line. It's so important that as teachers we stress some of the little things that are getting away from us that are so important to our choreography. If it's a line of 4, it involves having the hands joined in a line of 4. And only people who do not have their hands joined are the 2 end dancers with their outside hand. All the inside dancers are locked up with hands. Go forward and back. Bend the line, and immediately they join new hands. Bend the line, and immediately they join the new hands. Thank you. All right. Let's move back to home position. I'm going to skip 22 and 23 all around the corner and seesaw because they are practically identical in styling to do-si-do. Pardon me? I said in styling. Do we do anything different in styling? I know there are different movements, but as far as styling notes are concerned, I don't think we do anything different with our skirt and hands, do we? That's what I was talking about. Okay, let's take grand square was the last one on this list of 24 that I have before me. Oh, no, I have. Yeah, that'll be just about right. And we'll talk about grand square and the fact that arms are in natural dance position and that skirt work is involved for the ladies with a natural swinging motion. And the comment is that when moving forward or backward as a couple, that normal couple handholds are desired. Now, what we're trying to say at that point is that as the dancers go forward with each other or back away in their portion of the grand square basic, they should join hands as a couple as they do so. Sides face, grand square, count flip. Notice the couples taking hands as they go, but reverse it. Do it again. There you go, and all the hands are joined as they come in and out together. Making forward walking or backing up couples, in other words, as part of the grand square. That completes the first 24 basics, which is going to put us on a schedule that should see us through all of the sessions. I would like to thank the dancers very much. I would like for them to be seated, and we'll take about, is it 10 minutes we have now for 5 minutes we have left? What time do we? break this? Okay, we have about 5 minutes for any comments before we take our break from the floor. 5 minutes, please. Yes, ma'am. Sir, sorry about that. No, it wasn't you. I just saw that your hand near the lady, and I thought it was the lady had her hand up. Sorry about that.
Okay, Ron Wilcox, Toronto, Canada. Again, I noticed in the Grand Square there's no reference made to the number of feet to the side. I appreciate that definition is part of the definition committee, but I wondered
Thank you, Dick and Carol.
Knowing that the Stallion Committee could reinforce this, because if they don't take 4 feet to the side, it is not a smooth looking Grand Square, and you can't meet in the center. And also at the end of it, there's time left over, which I've seen people rush around the Grand Square and swing at the end. And I wonder if maybe the Stallion Committee can reinforce the 16 one way, 16 the other concept of the Grand Square.
Thank you. I don't, well, what he said, he knew it was a part of timing, but that he felt it might be reinforced by our definition just to gain added emphasis for that. That might be true. I might point out something I have in my hand, though, that is in the works and might hopefully one day solve this whole situation. You must realize that we are in a slow-moving development stage. This does not come overnight. But before me is the first draft of a completed basic list that involves basic 24, grand square, timing, 32 counts, and styling listed below that, in which all of that is defined under one type situation, and is to be the format I think that we're going to see in the future when all of the committee work begins to come together. And at that point in time, then see, it would be repetitious if we did that. So once we get the list, which each basic is defined, and the timing for that basic, and the styling for that basic, it would be important that they not conflict, probably. I mean, that they not repeat. Okay, Ken?
Yes, Ken Kernan. Has your committee talked anything about putting wording in to discourage the use of the chassis in the Grand Square specifically?
No, sir, we have not. I don't believe the committee has not discussed it, have we?
Certain parts of the country use the sliding chassis in the Grand Square, which is not to the definition as it stands. But I didn't know whether the Grand Square.
The comment was we were trying to be positive rather than negative, and we were trying to positively address how it was done and not to address the so-called negative aspects or the aspects that are those other than normal. I saw, yes.
James Max in Jacksonville, Florida. I agree with everything you've done. However, I noticed on the Grand Right left and they met for promenade. Did the committee address themselves to any kind of a twirl rather than just the ladies more or less doing a turn back?
Well, no. What he's saying is on the right and left grant. It's not a part of the right and left grant, and we didn't address it because it's not part of it.
Well, when you meet your partner and promenade,
yeah, you're talking.
You'll get a lot of,
You're talking about prior to the at the end of the right and left grant and prior to the promenade.
Right.
We didn't address it because we felt it wasn't part of it. I see what you're saying, and I guess it's something if you think should be in there, we can address it on a positive note and see. We didn't because we do not feel it's part of it. Can I repeat what I'm saying and what the gentleman has said so I can make sure we all are down the same path? At the end of a right and left grant, in many areas of the country, they teach that the dancers that meet right hands at the end of a right and left grand, the gent would twirl the lady into the promenade position by taking her right hand, and she would take a clockwise motion down line of dance, into the promenade. We do not, as a styling committee, or have not endorsed that. We felt that is not good, to be truthful. It's not part of our styling. Now, if someone feels strongly that it should be, that's what you're here for, is to give your input. If you feel it's something that should be, we can certainly address it.
No, doesn't that come under promenade flourishes? That's where it was.
Thank you, Phyllis. I thought it comes under promenade ending twirls. I don't think we have anything preceding in a flourish manner that precedes it. You might check with me, and I'm wrong often. Yes, sir?
I think part of the problem is this is a folk activity. We're trying to direct every step in every region. There's no way you're going to do this. You can teach your dances any way you want. twirl or not making the twirl is the fun for our dancers. We've got to go along with it. If we try to stop it and get straight-laced, we're going to have another reason to drive them out of dancing.
I appreciate your comments, but I'd like to respond to that directly.
Page 22 reserves it under any position it says twirl, two-way promenade, ladies up.
Okay, thank you. I stand corrected on one thing. It says under on page 22 under oh no, that's at the end of a swing rather than a right and left grand. The only comment I'd like to make, sir, I appreciate your remarks, but from a personal standpoint, I have never tried to go into a square dance floor and enforce. I do not see the caller as being an enforcer to any group. I think that it has to come from the ground up in an educational process. If you become a good teacher, if you become a respected teacher and emphasize the good styling habits in square dance class, you won't have much worrying to do about it after that. There will always be some who go, as you say, to the nationals or go to wherever and come back with the habits that we feel are bad. For you to teach, as a caller yourself and everyone in this room that endorses these principles, to go home and teach, not to go home and enforce. I think that's two different things. You know, I wouldn't dare want you to go home and say, they said, by God, you got to do it that way, and if you don't, well, you're out.
Yeah, comment. You started on the hand turns about calling it an ethical thing for callers to teach the hands up. Come up in my race, and you're going to find that if a caller is going to be that ethical, he's not going to be calling. I think we've gone through this in New England. The matter was brought up after CALLERLAB vote. We had 300 callers there who voted to stick with what our dancers are doing, and our dancers are happy. If your committee is, as someone earlier mentioned, going to make it an ethical matter for callers to have to teach in the manner that's printed in this paper, you're going to have a lot of callers withdraw from that CALLERLAB.
I appreciate your comments, and that's a thing that'll have to be addressed later on, but it is being discussed. I can only be fair with you and say it's being discussed.
I think that you'll find that when this came up in 74, the ruling was if there is any confusion or any discontent, then go to the hands up. But it did not say you must. All right?
He just said must. I heard him. I heard him.